Thank you so much for watching Riff TV. Now, this interview is obviously with video, but I don't interview everybody on Zoom. That's why I put it on my Talkin Rock with Meltdown podcast. We talk to rock artists from all over the genre. So check out Talkin Rock with Meltdown wherever you get your podcasts. And now to today's video interview. There he is. Johnny, how are you, my friend?
What's up, man? How are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. I was thinking about that. Yeah, I was trying to think if I've talked to you since you joined Quiet Riot, but I don't know. We'll talk about that here in a second. Yeah. First of all, you got the Harley Davidson shirt. I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this. Do you have a Harley Davidson?
I'm new to the cult. Yeah. I picked up. I got my first bike last summer.
Oh, you did? What do you have?
I got a Sportster 883.
Okay, there you go. I played hockey this morning with Brendan Morrison. You remember him from the Vancouver Canucks?
Yes, I remember the name. Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I bought my first Harley in like 1992, and one of my buddies said to me, "It'll get in your blood." And I thought to myself at that moment, no, it won't. And here we are in 2023, and I've had a Harley all this time. So,
yeah. Last summer, like a year ago, I was out in California shooting a video with Kill Devil Hill.
Yeah.
And in the video where it was out at a dried up lake bed out about 2 hours outside of LA. And we had the scene, like, the main thing about the video is us riding Harleys on the lake bed. Yeah. I don't have a bike, so they rented me a bike. The other guys had bikes, and I was riding it, and I was like, how come I never did this? How come I never got a bike before? And I was like, oh, right, because I lived in New York and I wanted to live.
I learned to ride and love to ride in the country. And I rode my motorcycle here today. I host a motorcycle night on Thursday nights here in Detroit. And I mean, I gotta be honest though, but riding here to work every day is not a thrill on the freeways. But
yeah, like where I live here, there's a lot of nice places to ride, and the traffic can be, kind of light. On the interstates, it gets a little busy, it gets a little hairy when you get down to the city, like down to Dallas and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, ride safe. Of course, you're going to be here in Detroit. Smugglers Run, that's coming up on June 9th. That's kind of a newer place right on the water there, a beautiful place. We've had a couple shows there so far, and they've been great. How have things been going with you with Quiet Riot? You were just talking before we got on the air that this isn't like a touring band per se. You guys kind of do these shows on the weekends and stuff, and then you get back home.
Well, now the first part of the year, like up to this point, there weren't too many gigs. It wasn't all that busy. But starting this weekend, that's it. My wife is really upset.
She has to take care of all the animals you have, right?
Yeah. She's holding down the fort by herself. I think there's like one weekend between now and October where I'm home.
Oh, is that right? Well,
yeah, every weekend there's gigs, and then actually at one point I'm going to be away for a week, which is pretty odd. With Quiet Riot. It's just the way the logistics are working out and stuff. And but starting up now, there's like over 50 shows on the books and counting at this point for the year, which is cool. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, this show's been going well.
Yeah, actually, this is a lot different than what I've been used to, throughout my whole career, and like playing places. Well, like playing like casinos and things like that, like these venues and stuff that don't really cater to like what Typo and Danzig were doing.
Right.
And, so it's like, I'll fly to like these places that when I thought that I've been everywhere here, it's like, I've never heard of this place. I was like, there's a venue here. And then it's like, we'll land at some like weird regional airport and then drive for like 2 hours. And it's like, there can't be a venue here. And then out of nowhere, there'll be like this huge casino or something. And it'll be like, who thought of putting something here like this? And it's like, other people know about this place. and we and then the show will come showtime, the place is packed.
So are you saying that there's like a whole different like circuit from the one you were used to playing for all
this? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like instead of stopping at Harpo's now we're gonna we've played really haven't gone through Michigan all that much since I've been playing with them. But yeah, it's like a lot of casinos in like Ohio and Indiana and Illinois. I've been to Illinois a bunch, Wisconsin, Minnesota. I've spent a lot of time in Minnesota. And our last show was in South Dakota. Like,
Yeah.
like I think Typo played in both Dakotas. Maybe like there was like 2 gigs out of like 20 years of existence.
That's funny. Yeah, because Typo was like an East Coast band. So did you find yourself playing in more like city venues?
Yeah, like A markets. Yeah, it was a lot of A markets. When we first started touring with Typo, we were playing everywhere. We really like pounded the Midwest
Mhm.
and like like the middle of the country. Like I've like a lot of a lot of Rust Belt, especially like Ohio. Like we played all kinds of places in Ohio. I mean, we even played in like Youngstown, Ohio.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that's a truck stop.
Yeah. Well, the meat and potatoes rock fans are here.
Right, and that's what we hit when we were able to go through a lot of those places, like supporting like Motley Crue and things like that. The minute that Motley Crue tour ended, we stayed on the bus and went back and hit all those places that all those markets that we wouldn't have been able to do prior to that, and that's how the band's following really grew.
Now, what Motley tour was that? Was that the one with Karabi?
Yes,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think we talked about this before, but I saw that tour in Buffalo, and Nikki Sixx actually jumped off the stage that night and attacked a fan in like the front row.
Well, he probably had a lot of frustration,
Yeah.
a lot of outside frustrations regarding the tour.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
us, it was great. Like for Motley Crue, it was a tough tour for them.
That was
But for us, yeah,
yeah. That was a sparsely attended show that I saw that night.
that's a really diplomatic way of putting it.
Yeah.
That was good. You get points for that.
Yeah, there you go. I forgot that you guys
But their sparsely attended, performances for us, it was gold because bad for them is incredible for us. We couldn't go to we couldn't go to Jacksonville, Florida, and play in front of like whatever 1,000 people. If Typo went to Jacksonville, Florida on its own, we play in front of like seriously maybe like 50 people at that point.
Really?
Maybe.
Wow. Yeah, that was in 19.
Yeah, at that point, I remember we played in Pensacola, which is like it's not really kind of far away, but it's kind of like the same market.
Mhm.
And like we played this place. I mean, this place was a rundown bar, straight up rundown bar with a train passing literally right next to the bar, and 12 people showed up. 12 paid.
Oh, jeez.
That might have been on a day off on the Motley Crue tour.
Okay.
Like we were, playing trying to play our own dates while we were out supporting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. 12. So it's a little bit more than 2 hands, but
I saw
so you get the idea.
Yeah, I saw STP one time with about 20 people. This is when they first started out. But I just talked with Zachy Vengeance from Avenged Sevenfold, and M Shadows had told me one time that they played a show with Rise Against for one paying customer. So all the other bands would come out and watch.
Yeah, I mean, every band goes through it.
Right.
Like it's the way you earn your keep.
Yeah, no doubt.
And but yeah, so like what was bad for them was it put us on the map. That was our springboard.
Yeah.
And then after that, like I was saying, everything was like like all like the middle of the country.
Yeah.
Like we play LA and like New York. Yes, of course, the band would always do well in New York, but everything was concentrated on the middle of the country.
Well, you'll be playing
like from Texas all the way up to New York.
Yeah, you'll be playing for a few more people here in Detroit this time around. There's no question about that. But I wanted to ask you. I don't think I've
I
talked.
hope so.
Yeah, I think you will. More than 13, 15, perhaps. So, but what is it like playing with Rudy Sarzo?
He's an icon. What do you expect? What do you think? I'll be playing and stuff. I mean, it was great. Like the whole thing. It's a really terrible way to get a gig.
Yeah.
Like how I wound up in Quiet Riot.
Right.
That's terrible. And but like coming in and like at first starting out like coming in and covering for Frankie, that was the big shoes to fill.
Mm.
And I didn't think anything of it at the time, where it'd be like, yeah, I'm just covering for Frankie while he's going in for treatment, stuff like that. And then when it was not when it became permanent, but like, getting to play with like, I mean, I play with Alex a lot in Hookers and Blow for years, and that's the connection of how I wound up in Quiet Riot. But like, getting to play with Chuck and James Durbin was singing and stuff. Chuck's a great bass player, and it was great to like, like to be able to like, step into that situation and, see it, besides like, just, getting things covered, getting things done and, keeping things moving, I was getting the opportunity to play with some other people that, like the heavyweights. And then when Rudy was coming back, it was pretty surreal, like growing up, Ozzy, and,
Right.
Quiet Riot, it's like, I was like, wow, I was like, Rudy's going to be playing Rudy Sarzo. And then I felt bad for him. I was like, here he is. Here's Rudy Sarzo. Like, he's got this storied career and everything, like all the accomplishments, amazing bass player, like he's an icon, and he's like, influenced so many people to play bass and whatnot. And now he's stuck with me.
Give yourself some more credit. But, I wasn't really, the question wasn't really about like, Rudy, of course, is a legend in that. But I mean, like musically, what is it like to play with a guy that, like
it's
that?
It's incredible. It was like, like when we got together to rehearse for the first time, like, like I have to admit, I was kind of nervous, because like, like we've been playing things a certain way, before Rudy came in, and now Rudy's coming back to the band. He hasn't been in the band in, a number of years and stuff. And now it's, his partner, Frankie, isn't there and stuff. I thought I was going to be like, in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
And, it was funny. I was like, starting to play with each other and then getting to know each other at the same time. It was like, you just get thrown in a room and it's like, all right, there's Rudy. All right, here's the set list. All right, go. And then, so I was asking him for, critiques. I was like, get input from him. I was like, hey, how does this feel? Like, what do you think? What is there something missing? Do you want me to do something that you used to doing or whatever? Do you want me to, pull it back a little bit? Just usual stuff. And he was like, he pinned out my playing like right away. He was just like, oh yeah. He's like, he goes, I see that you play behind the beat a little bit. You have that behind the beat feel. And he goes, I'll adjust my playing to play with you. He's like, you keep doing what you do, and I'll sort it out on my end. And I was, you sure you don't want me to do anything? Like, it's but so like, to get to play with him, it's a learning experience. It's like, here it is, like, to get to play with one of the greatest bass players of all time, like, and so it's pretty cool, like, and it's like every once in a while, like, I'll just take a step back and I'll be like, playing, and like, see this guy come running across the stage. I'm like, hey, it's Rudy Sarzo. All right, that's cool. It's like fucking Rudy Sarzo. And then I like, I was like, all right, we've known each other long enough now. I was like, and then I would bombard him with Tommy Aldridge questions. I was like, we can consider our friends now. I was like, all right, first off, I was like, what's this?
Yeah. That's hysterical, because a lot of people think, you're a rock star, rock stars and stuff. But at the end of the day, all of us, including the rock stars, are fans of rock stars. And when you get to meet them and stuff, sometimes you might be a little bit starstruck, blown away. Like you said, asking them questions about your favorites.
Oh yeah. Like, like I remember, like, Diary of a Madman, that summer, that was like the soundtrack to my summer.
Yeah.
And then, like I got Speak of the Devil for Christmas, and,
one of the greatest live records ever, I think.
Right. And I remember like, one of my friends getting a bootleg video of it when I was in high school, a bootleg video of the show. And I was like, we all got together and went to the house after school and watched. I was like, holy shit, look at, like, they're real. Like,
I met Brad Gillis one time for literally a minute, and I said, dude, Speak of the Devil. That's all. That record so much as a kid, and still do. It's such a great live album.
Yeah, like, and like, I remember like trying to decipher all that stuff on the, out on the outside of the cover, and now so I'm like, and now like that's the guy, that guy running across the stage. I was like, that's him. There he goes.
That's really cool. You get to not only get to know your idols, but then play with them as well. And
yeah, and now I give him a hard time all the time.
Yeah, of course.
I'm always harassing him.
Yeah, you should. So I've never met or interviewed Jizzy. So what's he like?
Jizzy's he's awesome. I love him. I love him. He's very cynical.
Yeah.
He's the very cynical type. Uh, Not really sociable. I mean, he'll talk like, like if he's in his comfort zone, kind of, like a Glenn or a Peter and stuff like that. Well, Peter was more socially, out there. He would try to socialize. Uh, but Jizzy's a pro. He's a pro, and he's he's grumpy all the time, which is great, and it gives me a chance to give him a hard time too.
I can see the headlines already. Jizzy Pearl grumpy all the time. I can see this already.
Well, I love it. It never fails because, like, a lot of times, like a lot of these flyout dates, we're at the airport at 4:30 in the morning, things like that, and Jizzy's like barely awake, and somebody, I mean, it never fails. Like somebody will recognize him. They'll be like, "Hey, can I have a picture?" And then Rudy, you can't go anywhere with Rudy. Rudy always gets recognized.
Yeah.
So then I take that as the opportunity. So they'll get a picture with Rudy. Sometimes they'll ask pictures for me and Alex or whatever. And I'm like, hey, the singer's right over there. It's like, go up to him. It's totally fine. He loves taking pictures with people.
You're a hockey guy like I am. And I remember one time I was having dinner with Nick Lindstrom, Thomas Holmstrom, and Johan Franzen, right? And so this girl recognizes Nick, and she comes up and she starts talking to him. And Nick says, "Oh, hey, look, there's Thomas Holmstrom. He just played his 1000th game in the NHL, just like what you do."
Yeah.
That is hysterical. Speaking of that, by the way, what do you got here for the finals?
I watched the game last night with Florida, and it looked like that Florida had it, and then Carolina tied it up, and then the penalty with just a few seconds left, and then Kachuk scoring the goal. I was like Bettman had to have done this. What really struck me odd was since I moved to Texas, I really haven't been watching hockey all that much, and the Rangers have been okay. They've been, there's moments of, really, really good hockey, and then but what struck me was I was really surprised at how many former Rangers were on that ice last night.
Yeah. Okay.
Like Jesper Fast has a primary, he's like first line in Carolina. He was like fourth line in New York.
Right. Yeah.
And he was like, he got, I saw they were talking about him, and they said that he had 6 goals in the playoffs. He maybe had 6 goals his whole career in New York.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes some of these guys a little bit of time to learn the league. You know what I'm saying? And learn they got to grow up with the league. Some guys get it pretty quickly. Some guys, it does take a little while to develop.
I felt bad for Rod Brindamore. You could see how gutted he was at the end of the game. I felt bad for him.
Yeah, Rod DeBod.
And bittersweet, Paul Maurice beating his former team, to go to the Cup.
I was talking about this.
It's a really good story.
Yeah, I was talking about this on the radio.
And
Vinnie Paul, I mean, he was a friend of mine, and I remember the most he ever texted me was a week before he died, and it was when Las Vegas lost the Stanley Cup. And between Vegas and the Stars, I don't know what VP would be doing.
Oh yeah, well, I think he would have gone with the Stars.
Yeah.
That's where his heart is. It was very convenient for him that they put a hockey team in Las Vegas, which was great for him.
Right.
And but I think his heart will always be with the Stars.
Yeah. Hey, one final thing here for you before we cut you loose. I got a hard out coming up here in a few minutes, but that's another new project that you're working on. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. That was started with Andrew Spalding. I met Andrew. I met him. He was a merchandiser for Danzig.
Oh, okay.
And then Typo went on tour after that. Brought him out, and he worked with Typo up until Peter passed away. And we all remained good friends and stuff. And then he started an indie label. Started a small little label, and he suggested putting me and Kenny together with Kirk Winstein and Todd Strange from Crowbar. And we've all been friends. I've known Kirk and Todd for like 30 years at this point. And, so we've always been friends and we always crossed paths and hung out, like, this and that, but never really had the opportunity to get in a room and play together. And Drew had it worked out. We all met in Florida like 2 months ago. And we got into a room, came up with that song, recorded it the next day. And that was it. It was done. And so now, the record comes out, the single gets released in the video. We did a video for it too. It comes out June 2nd. And we're going to New Orleans at the end of June to do more writing and recording.
Oh, cool.
We'll see what happens if we get like a whole week. Who knows what could happen? That was like a day. Like Drew literally picked me up from the airport and drove me to rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys were in the room and I just put my suitcase over to the side, set up the kit, and then we started working on the song. And then the next morning we went to the recording studio, tracked all the drums. And then I was on a plane. I don't know where I was going after that, but I had to leave like right after we were done tracking. I think my flight was at like 6 a.m. the next morning. So I was there just literally for a few hours.
So June 2nd, some new stuff from you guys.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well,
it's a cool song. I really wasn't sure what to expect. Like, I guess the best way to compare it would be like, on a different scale, of course, would be like, like when Scott Weiland in Velvet Revolver, like, you take these people from these bands and you put them together and like, you have a certain expectation of it. And then you're not sure if it's going to meet it, if it's, exceeding it, or if it falls way below, But, I was pleasantly surprised at, how easy it was and how much fun it was to work with everybody.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. And Kenny and I, we've been playing together since we were teenagers.
Right.
And the two of us, we have on the outside would seem like a very abusive relationship. But that's how we communicate. And so like, we could just like, say these really, harsh things to each other. And it's not really, no one's really taking insult to it. We're just communicating. So it's like, I kind of had to be careful of how I spoke to like Kirk and Todd. I was like, they probably won't respond the same way Kenny does. So I was like, but no, it was really cool. I'm really psyched about getting together again. In a month. We're getting together, right? Today's 25th. Yeah, we're getting together in a month. Kirk was in Europe for a while. He's got some stuff going on with Crowbar. And I got some, I have a lot of Quiet Riot stuff coming up. And so we're getting together in a month and we're going to see what we can, come up with in a week, because that's all we're doing. All we have is just a week of I Am.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what, I got to cut you loose, but when you come through town on June the 9th, if it's a nice day and I bring my Harley Davidson down there, I'll let you take it for a spin. My street
glide. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll let you take my street glide for a spin. You might never want to get on that Sportster again.
I've been looking at the, what is it, Street Bobs.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and they told me at the dealership when I bought the bike too, I was like, because I didn't have the experience. I didn't want to just start getting on a big bike and, think that I, own it. And I was like, so what do you think, like somebody like, my size and a Sportster and whatever, my experience. And he goes, you'll probably be back in a year trading it in.
Right. It'll get in your blood, like someone told me, like I said.
Yeah. I when I got home with the bike, and it was like, I had the bike for a couple of days and I turned around to my wife. I was like, I think I joined a cult.
Yeah.
It's
start getting all this stuff.
Very committed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, now I can wear the shirts without being like, now I'm not a poser. So I could wear a Harley shirt and, like wearing camo.
Yeah. I told my wife, we got married 23 years ago. I told my wife, I said, I do two things. I ride a Harley and I play hockey. So I rode my Harley here. I scored 2 goals this morning on the ice. Don't act like you're not impressed. And we're still going strong after all.
That's great. Yeah. That's a perfect day.
That's right. Exactly. Well, Johnny, so great to see you. So great to reconnect and talk with you.
Yeah, really good catching up.